Welcome back. The end of May brings the end of Celiac Awareness Month, a movement that is shedding light on a disease that hundreds of thousands of people have, yet don't even know about. 23 ABC's Natalie Taranjoli has more on the difficulties that arise with the diagnosis and treatment.
Faven, it may seem trendy to switch to a gluten-free diet, but for millions across the country, cutting out gluten can literally save their lives.
Gianna Foy has been teaching English at East Bakersfield High School for 12 years. Foy spent many of those years battling vague, debilitating symptoms.
Oh, that's an awesome idea.
Pain and discomfort, not always obvious.
I just think people don't realize that because when they look at us, we don't look sick.
Dealing with constant stomach pain, over time, just getting used to it. Not thinking what she was experiencing was worth seeing a doctor for.
I just kept it to myself because I felt like people wouldn't believe me. So I just suffered in silence, which I think maybe a lot of people do.
Foy also suffered from extreme fatigue, a feeling she describes as her bones being on fire. Finally, she saw a doctor when her hair started falling out.
And I was like, yes, this is something that they can actually see.
After a decade of pain, finally an answer. Foy was diagnosed with celiac disease, an autoimmune disease that causes small intestinal damage when gluten is consumed. Gluten is a protein found in wheat, barley, and rye, and when it's ingested, an immune reaction. The small intestine is attacked and damaged, affecting the absorption of nutrients from food. The only treatment for celiac disease, a lifelong gluten-free diet. This means people have to avoid common foods they may have been eating their entire lives.
Pasta, pizza, cereal, bread, beer, gone.
Dr. Marvin Ament with Valley Children's Hospital in Bakersfield looks for symptoms of the disease in every patient he sees.
It's a very interesting disease.
A pediatric gastroenterologist for more than 40 years, he sees the traditional symptoms like stomach pain and fatigue, but also non-traditional ones like migraines and failure to thrive in children.
I see celiac disease here in Bakersfield. Probably at least 2 or 3 times a month, new cases.
Dr. Ament diagnoses celiac in children, but the disease can present itself at any point in people's lives. Celiac is different from other diseases in that food is medicine. Foy, who was diagnosed 4 years ago in her early 50s, now looks back on her years spent in silent pain and discomfort. She can recall having symptoms of celiac even as a child. It wasn't until she finally started feeling better on a gluten-free diet when she realized just how much she was suffering.
I felt like part of my life was stolen, like I was suffering all this time, and if I had known sooner how different my life might have been, how I could have done things, felt better.
Foy's case isn't unusual. Of the 1% of Americans who have celiac, around 80% of them don't know they have the disease or they're misdiagnosed.
Irritable bowel syndrome, osteoporosis, iron deficiency anemia, they're 3 very common conditions of which a certain percentage of those individuals who have them actually have celiac disease.
Despite these numbers, Dr. Green with the Columbia School of Medicine says there's an overall increase in awareness of the disease. But for people like Foy, this diet is far from trendy. It's rather burdensome.
So you just can't be spontaneous at all, and that makes me really sad. That you always have to be prepared. You always have to have food with you.
Foy says in a way she's thankful food is her treatment and that she doesn't have to take medicine for her celiac, but gluten is found in countless food items, and it doesn't stop there. It's also found in cosmetics, skin and hair products, and pet food. A small bit of gluten or even contact with an item containing gluten can cause intestinal damage in celiac patients.
I just wish people would realize how serious it is and that a little bit does hurt. Just a teeny bit can hurt.
Foy says her life hasn't been the same since her diagnosis. Although it's gotten a lot better, she isn't in constant mysterious pain.
I don't focus on food as far as enjoying it quite as much as I used to. I look at it more as something I have to do.
The diet has since become a way of life for her. She's able to eat out at her favorite spots, almost always without issue.
I think that's the thing that makes it so hard on people is you have to eat to survive. But then the foods are the things that are hurting you.
Now she focuses on what she can eat and not what she can't, which are fruits, vegetables, meat, and seafood. Researchers at Columbia University are working on improving the quality of life for people with celiac disease.
How strict should people be, and like potentially developing therapies to help people because it's increasingly difficult to be on a gluten-free diet.
Food, oftentimes taken for granted by people who choose their meals at will. For people like Foy, those freedoms don't exist.
Do you think this disease defines you?
That's a hard question. In a way it does, which I don't like.
Careful vigilance, now part of her everyday life.
And it's not until you're feeling better that you realize how terrible you felt.
Celiac disease often goes unnoticed because signs and symptoms can be invisible or difficult to pinpoint. I myself was diagnosed almost a year ago. With that came a lot of emotions, a sense of relief for figuring out why I was feeling the way I was, but also overwhelmed with how many changes I had to make in my life. Over time, I started to feel better, and I found out how it affects people right here in Kern County. Natalie Tarangeli, 23, ABC.